Alright, so it's the opening day of the Kentucky deer season 2010, and Emily was fortunate enough to harvest this real nice 3.5-year-old buck this morning, or what we think is a 3.5-year-old buck. And the next step for any management purposes is to take the jawbone out. That way, when we take all of our measurements on the deer, we have an estimated age to compare them to. Without that, those measurements are essentially worthless. So we're going to go through and do a basic removal of a jawbone. We're not concerned with having this deer mounted. We're going to do a European mount on it. So we'll go through and do a simple process to remove the jawbone on the buck. We have our jawbone extractor tool, which we got through forestry suppliers. And then we also have our loppers, where you can get through forestry suppliers or any outdoors place such as Home Depot. First, take this rounded end of the jawbone extractor and we'll slide it right here against the gum line of this deer, and that's going to separate the lower mandible tissue that's connected here on the deer. So we'll insert it just like that. And then you're just going to start forcing it down. And it's good to do it on the ground so you can step on the antlers. For doe, it's usually easier if we have it already, the head still on the body. And you can see I'm trying to get down as far as I can and separate as much of that as possible. The more you separate it, the better that it's going to be. Okay, you can see that it's really loose there. You can also do, the best way to do it is to then take a knife and slice this down. But the way that we're going to show it is if you were actually going to mount this deer. If you do it just like that, some people say, oh, well, you're stretching the hide. It's not a big issue. Any taxidermist will be able to fix that over the mount. So now that we have that loose, is we want to open up that jaw. And this is so we can get those loppers deep down in there in an effort to separate the lower jaw or the lower mandible. You can see this buck's been dead for a while, so it's a little bit stiffer. But once you get it in there, try to lock it in there. And a lot of times you can use the other end to really get it started, but you need this wider end here on the jawbone extractor to get the loppers down in. Alright, so I got that separated. I'm going to take the loppers now. Curved end is not your cutting end, but your positioning end. And I'm going to run that down the side of the jaw here till I can lock it back underneath there. And then I'll take and start cutting. And usually it's going to take a couple times to get it in there and get it right. But you'll be able to feel it as it locks back. You can actually see it here bulge out perfectly on the deer, and that's why I'm trying to get his back as far as possible on that jaw. And if I can feel it lock, do that, and it's going to cut. Now, not all the time is it going to be loose. This one feels like it's somewhat loose, but you can see the deer's mouth is now open. So I'm going to take it and without the extractor in, try to get it back in there as far as possible again, and to make sure it's really cut. To help get it out, is your jawbone's going to get clear up here to these bottom incisors. And if you cut that jawbone right there, because we're really only concerned with the premolars and molars, so just take your loppers and give that a cut, and it's going to separate that right there, so that when you do get a hold of this thing and get ready to rip it out, there we go. It's like a, and you can see any biologist like Emily and I, we don't want to get these frozen and then sent in the mail to us because it makes our job a lot harder. But we also don't want you to take the time as a landowner or a hunter to sit there and try to skin this thing all up. So the easiest thing to do is to get a fish cage from Walmart, Dick's, Bass Pro Shops, anything like that. Put a tag on this thing, which we'll show you here in a second, to fill out the information about this deer, zip tie it, drop it in, and kind of let nature take its course to clean this thing up. You know, right now it's early November, mid-November. We'll start getting these in towards the end of the hunting season, which will be end of January. So you got a few months to kind of let nature take its course, and days like this, it's going to be 70 degrees, they'll start cleaning it up. But that's how we're going to extract the jawbone. We'll show you filling out the tag here in a second.